Hi, it's Mr. Baumgarten with you once again for another excellent, exciting edition of Programming Python with Turtle. And I have my chessboard happening here that we've been working on the last couple of videos with my white and brown squares. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you're interested in chess or not, because the problem is still the same. Whether you're building a Space Invaders game or you're making even a business application, sooner or later, when you start programming, you're going to find that you have a lot of repetition happening. And you need to find a way to deal with that repetition as efficiently as possible. And one of the ways we've covered addressing that already is through writing functions. We're going to look at another way that we are going to use to help us with this, called a for loop. And then in the next video, we'll look at the pattern side of this as well as we introduce if statements. But if we look at my code at the moment, we'll see that, okay, we removed a lot of code because we would have had all of this square code happening for 16 times already just for our two rows. Instead, I've got 16 one-line commands that take care of it all for me. And I just provide the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, the size, and the color. But I look at this and I still see repetition. There are 16 lines that are almost the same thing. And so let's look at this a row at a time. Within each row, the only thing that changes is the X coordinate and the color. So this, first of all, let's put the color to one side for this video, and then we'll deal with it in the next video. But we'll make row 3 for now. We'll just make it a series of squares. So we'll just use square at. What I'll do is I'll set fill color manually. I'll just set it to black for now. And we'll set the pen color to white so we can see what's going on. And put the pen down. But let's see if there's an automated way that we can draw 8 squares at the correct locations. So instead of saying square at, so from minus 400, 200 being the Y value, 100 being the size. All right, so at the moment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this would look like this. 100, 200, and I need one more. Oh, come on. Keyboard shortcuts never work the way you want them to when you're filming a video. Okay, so this is just, should draw me my 8 squares at the bottom. And let's see if I can automate this part of it. And then, like I said, we'll deal with the color aspect in the next video, because that's going to introduce another new skill. So 8, here we go, the pen is on. Okay, and here's my 8 squares being drawn in the correct locations. How can I automate that instead of it needing to be 8 lines of code? And it wasn't quite in the correct location because that's supposed to be a 200 and that's supposed to be a 300. And that would have fixed that little bit where we saw it overdraw it, one of the squares. Okay, so the only thing that's changing here is the X value. So we're going to use a for loop. For X, let's call this square number. Now, I'm just creating a variable here, so I can call it whatever I want. In range 0 to 8, colon. And then it indents again. So what's happening here? I am saying for the range of numbers from 0 up to but not including 8. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember. The reason I've used 0 is because programming languages always start counting from 0, so you might as well get used to it. All right, so instead of saying from 1 to 8, instead of getting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what I've got here will give me the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because it'll go up to but not including the last number. And now I can use a variable to work out the X coordinate. All right, so for when square number is 0, so my very first square, my x coordinate needs to be minus 400. So then my next one needs to be minus 300. So I need to add 100 to this for every extra square. So when square is 1, I need to add 100 to it. So I can just say minus 400 plus my square number times by 100. And Python is PEMDAS compliant, so it'll do the multiplication before it does the addition and subtraction. So the first time, when square number is 0, square number 0 times 100 will be 0. Add on to negative 400 will be negative 400. And then it saves the answer into x. When square number is 1, this will be 1 times 100 is 100. Minus 400 plus 100 is minus 300, and so on. So now I can actually just come in here and say square at x, right, which is the variable that I'm creating here. And then the y position doesn't change, and the size doesn't change, so 200, 100. And I can get rid of these 8 lines. Save, run. So while it's doing that, all right, so just remember, it starts at 0, up to but not including the 8. Now, whenever you do a mathematical calculation with variables, the calculation always goes on the right-hand side of the equal sign, and the place where you want the answer to get stored always goes on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Okay, so that's an important thing to be aware of. If we come back to my chessboard, we'll see we have our 8 squares, and I only have 1 line of code to draw the square, which is, like I said in other videos, we only want to write a piece of code once. When I have this kind of stuff going on, I can look at that and I think I know that there has to be a better way of doing it. And so here there is. And then in the next video, I will introduce if statements, which will solve our color problem. All right, so have a go at converting your rows into for statements. Well, how about I quickly do this for you? So if you have a go yourself, pause the video, and then come back and see if your answer is the same as mine. But I'm just going to copy and paste this. And the only thing that changes here is these. That will give me my 3 rows. Run that. And I've left the pen on, but so be it. And that's going to draw me my 3 rows. Now, this is going to draw 3 rows, and I could keep going and get 1, 2, whoops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I could do this 8 times to get all 8 rows, but you can see what the problem is, can't you? Or can you? There is repetition going on again. I've got the same 3 lines happening 8 times. How would I solve that? Why don't you have a go, see what you can think about. How would you solve the fact that this is happening 8 times, but the y needs to change? I'm going to stop this video now. This is Mr. Baumgartner signing off.